Hello, my name is Leandro Costalonga, and alongside with my fellow researchers Daniel Ora, Marcelo Pimenta, and Marcelo Vanderlei, we are presenting the rag-picking DMI design, which is essentially a case for the green computer music. Electrical and electronic equipment has become an essential part of our everyday life. However, how we produce, consume, and dispose of electronic waste is unsustainable. This is no different in the context of digital musical instruments, especially due to their prototyping culture, where the design and constructions of a new instrument usually is part of the exclusivity of the music performance. Once the musical piece or the performance season is finished, the question remains what to do with the equipment. In this presentation, we argue that we should be concerned with the ideas of sustainable development in computer music, more specifically related to the development of the DMIs, digital musical instruments. Three main areas require our attention in that matter. A. Recycling waste. B. Innovative repurposing and discarded materials. And C. Use of sustainable material and/or sustainable source. Electronic waste, or e-waste for short, is any electrical or electronic equipment that has been discarded. This includes working and broken items that are thrown down the garbage or donated to charity reseller. Often, if the item goes unsold in the store, it will be eventually thrown away. E-waste is particularly dangerous due to their toxic chemicals that naturally leaks from the metals inside when buried. Green computer, on the other hand, is a broader concept, overreaching the environmentally responsible and eco-friendly use of computers and their resources. In practical terms, green computing aims to find approaches of design, engineering, manufacturing, using and disposing of computing devices in a way that reduce their environmental impact. As we stated in previous works, the physicality of DMIs may play a significant role in the user experience. For this reason, designers should be invest in a durable design using good quality materials that evokes desire in the DMI's users, in place of the usual profitable and disposable toyish design. A modular design, for instance, allows a defective or obsolete part to be replaced when it is required, providing a longer life cycle for the device and potentially reducing electronic waste. Some musical instrument retailers make efforts to conform to the Waste Electrical and Electronic Equipment Directive regulations, meaning that if one purchases any electrical or electronic equipment, the retailer will dispose of equivalent equipment free of charge, on like-to-like basis. Some classes of musical instruments tend to generate more waste than others. Worn parts, such as old strings, picks, batteries, and tubes, will certainly need to be disposed of someday, as well as blown speakers, fried wires, trashed amps, unwanted enclosures, and fried electronics. Big companies such as Harman, Yamaha, and Fender have the resources to invest in sustainable policies. Some choose to do more than others based on their values and commitment to the society. It is still far from the ideal and, more importantly, far from the reality of the small luthiers and the makers community. So the question is, how can the small ones embrace the sustainable way of producing DMIs? Guitar strings and metal amp chassis are easy to recycle and might even have marketable value. Although most cables do not end up being recycled, at least they are recyclable, and it is economically desirable to do so. Fried circuits, amps, and speakers would certainly let you exercise your craftsmanship by turning it to a fine ring or a nice coffee table, in other words, repurposing it, but it also holds commercial value, especially reverb units. Circuit boards and non-functional electronics are recyclable as well. A circuit board has all kinds of precious metals, like gold and silver, as well as harmful metals like lead and cadmium. Repurposing can be viewed as a different type of recycling. It is less about the material and more about its use or original purpose. Something that is not working anymore for its intended original use can be ideal for another purpose. Repurposing an item can be done by modifying it to fit a new use or by using the item as it is in a different way. The practice is not limited to the physical items, and once more, open source code can be seen as an example. Component harvesting from old consumer goods is a good sustainable way to get parts for the prototypes. Outdated electronics can be scavenged for motors, gears, and other interesting mechanisms, as well as component level electronics that include resistors, capacitors, and inductors. Analog Outfitters, for instance, is an American company that specialized in building amplifiers from repurposed Hammond organs. They also make the scanner, which repurposes the vibrato and reverb units from old Hammond organs and MIDI controllers from repurposed keyboards. In another example from Brazil, Project Campus Vivo, which means Campus Alive, delivers culture in the form of machinery art to the small academic community. To entrain and to enchant the audience, computer engineering students use their technical skills in favor of the art to build the computer-automated cultural artifacts. As a keystone of the project, the students mostly use repurposed electronic components in their projects. Another aspect DMI makers should be aware of is the choice of the prototype material. Prototyping it is an inherently wasteful process. It is trial and error. There is no certainty of success, and this leaves a trail of waste behind. Despite being usually made from petroleum-based plastics, consumer products do not necessarily have to be prototyped with plastic. Robust parts can be machined from wood or molded from natural wax. Paper and cardboard can also be great prototyping materials. 3D printing is also a popular prototyping tool. Fortunately, there are eco-friendly materials available for these types of printers. Sustainable development of DMIs is a step to minimize or eliminate, where possible, the environmental impact of DMIs. Although apparently small, it is an actual initiative towards the green computer music that represents a change in priority in our activities. We are convinced such initiatives can benefit the environment, and that's why we have discussed and illustrated 3 examples of attitude change concerning our research and development activities: recycling waste, innovative repurposing of discarded materials, and the use of sustainable material from sustainable source. We summarize and highlight some attitudes that could contribute to a more sustainable design of digital musical instruments. First, we propose that undergraduate and new graduate students start by building copies of existing DMIs. By rebuilding DMIs, one gets to know the complexity of previous designs and the context in which they were done, but also becomes aware of the possible lack of documentation, inviting one to become more aware of the effort already made in the field and eventually provide better documentation to one's design. Second, build novel DMIs by only using existing used parts. Suggesting to the students to only use second-hand materials is a way to make them more aware of the waste and also of the value of existing tools that might not qualify as the newest or most advanced, but that may still be used to full advantage in novel designs. If not possible, favor the use of recycled material, including software, and renewable material. Third, propose that the students create and document designs that will be recreated or re-implemented by other students. This brings many benefits like better communication about the requirements, more useful design reviews, easier integration of separately models, more effective testing, and more efficient corrections and improvements. Mainly, this makes it easier to reuse previous designs. In large-scale collaborative projects, DMI's documentation and replicability are essential features since they reduce effort and waste when recreating DMIs. So far, the computer music community has been focusing on aspects of DMI related to sound production, sound processing, control interfaces, and so on. Often, it is not concerned with other requirements like registering design decisions in their documentation, usage of reusable components, adoption of sustainable materials, device repurposing, so on and so forth. However, in order to move forward, our community will need to deal not only with such requirements, but also with the whole environmental impact of our work as well. Thanks for listening, and we're looking forward to your comments and questions.